Regulatory agencies have several tools at their disposal under the Administrative Procedure Act that defines formal and informal rulemaking. Let me start with what the formal rulemaking process is. That is a more adjudicatory approach where agencies go through, they'll actually hold hearings, and the formal hearings where different parties will come in and present their case almost as if before a judge. That tends to be used on a narrow set of regulations, usually only when Congress prescribes that the regulation shall be done through formal rulemaking procedures. It's most valuable for things where there actually are two distinct sides that can present their best case before the regulatory agency, as opposed to the more typical type of regulation that will have many different groups that might be interested in. So, setting aside the formal rulemaking, the main way agencies issue regulations is through notice and comment rulemaking, also called informal. And that requires them to develop a regulatory base, a docket that explains what their problem is, the analysis they have, how they propose to go forward to address it. They publish that in the Federal Register and seek comment. And that comment period is usually open for at least 30 days, but for bigger rules, 60 days, sometimes more. And sometimes agencies will extend that comment period. So I think the longest comment period I've ever seen on a regulation was 120 days. At the end of that public comment period, the agency will evaluate all those comments, evaluate how that affects that record that they've developed, and then issue a final regulation. These are all procedures required by the APA. That final regulation, when it's finished, again, it'll go into the Federal Register, and 30 days or more after it's published in the Federal Register, as a rule, it can become effective. Some regulations will be published in the Federal Register, and the compliance date is years in the future. For example, automobile safety or emission standards. They're issued years in advance because the auto companies need time to develop that model year car to comply with the standards. So they tend to be done 3-4 years out. Others will be in effect soon after the regulation is issued. Also, after a regulation is issued in final form, parties may sue, and so the courts may get involved. So the executive branch agencies go through all these steps to develop the regulation, but once it's finished, both Congress and the judiciary have an opportunity to overturn that regulation and send it back to the agency. Through the court review, courts will sometimes just send it back in its entirety and not allow the agency to enforce against it while the agency's reconsidering it. Other times they will remand certain parts and allow the agency to continue operating under the regulation while they reconsider it.